Hi everybody, it's Jenn from McCreath. It's Saturday, May the 12th? I don't even know what. No, it's the 13th. Excuse me. May 13th, 2023. My goodness, 16 years ago today I ran my first marathon. That's not why I turned the camera on. We had a conversation on CBC. Yeah, I actually do watch News World. I don't necessarily like our local CBC very much, but I do watch the national one. And the conversation finally came up. What exactly does this word mean? Woke. It's a word that has existed obviously for many years, but there seems to be a secondary use of this term. It no longer means that you are awake. It is now a term, and there's actually a Wikipedia site now describing what exactly does this mean. David Cochrane was asking politicians and academics, what exactly does this mean? And nobody seems to have an exact definition for it. I think what we're getting at here is woke is a slang word or criticism word uttered by a certain group or class of people who are trying to defend a status quo that has traditionally given advantage and privilege to one particular specific group of people. That being rich, white, upper class, heterosexual, cisgendered men. They have managed to achieve their privilege and success partially by harming minority groups and people with various minority or differences from them. And the criticism woke is the concept or the ideology that we should all be equal rather than continue to allow rich, white, elite, potentially racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic people to continue to achieve the privilege and success that they have. Politically, it appears to be something that those on the right use to criticize the left, or in some cases the far right use to criticize the moderate right. So what do I think of this? Where do I fit into the world? It's interesting. I was born a male, white, told I was heterosexual, told I was cisgendered. Then I grew up and realized, no, that's not actually who I am. Born into this position supposedly of power, I gave it all up when I realized that no, I am not a white, cis, male, heterosexual male. I am actually trans. And yes, I actually fall under the LGB, sexual orientation. And it's funny, all these years, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and I was told anything LGB, definitely anything T is bad, it's wrong, these people are terrible, these people are mentally ill, these people do not deserve equality. So no wonder it was even more difficult to figure this out about myself. So here we are. It's interesting. Part of the strategy of this right-wing movement, not only do they attack and oppress minority groups, but they actually fire up minority groups to fight each other and tear each other down so they don't have to do the tearing down. More so than ever before, we are seeing minority groups fighting with each other, trying to push each other out of the way. Women's groups are attacking trans groups like never before. Guess what? You're all falling into this plan. Everyone who's oppressed is pushing hard back, saying, we want equality, we want it now. And it's affecting news media, it's affecting politics. Ironically, it's affecting, as I once referred to myself, a minority within a minority. LGB and T have often been lumped together. And who put us all together? Not ourselves. It was those privileged folks who said, all of you people who are different, we're going to classify you in this one box and put you over there because we don't want you around. We don't want to have anything to do with you. And then you could have others that are in multiple boxes. We're now seeing trans women of color pick fights with trans women of whiteness, as if to say, you still have more privilege than me, so I'm considering you an equal to those on the far right. Well, that's not helpful either. And then, of course, there's the Indigenous Canadian community, who seems to be getting a lot of media and a lot of press. And it's deserved. Everything they say is true. They have been oppressed. They have faced discrimination. They have been ostracized. But what's interesting is now we're starting to see politicians decide which one of these minorities are politically correct to now welcome and give equality to, and which ones are we just going to sit and call woke because we either don't agree with them or don't like them or they're not politically correct. Where do I fit in? I don't know. Politically, I've had 2 cups of coffee with the NDP, and it didn't go so well either time. Apparently I'm not left enough for those on the far left within the party. I think that's the problem the NDP faces, provincially and federally. Do you want to be a far left party or a left center party? What's unique is federally we're seeing an NDP lead towards the center to prop up a minority Liberal government to allow the Liberal government to survive. Provincially here in Newfoundland, it seems the NDP can't make up its own mind how far left they want to be. And they've gone through several changes of leadership, not just in terms of the leader of the party, but the executive of the party. I have a lot of left-leaning ideologies. I'm part of a minority group who you should be catering to. You should want people like myself, a trans person, to vote for you and support you. Allegedly, what you stand for is supposedly going to help me achieve equality in life. I haven't seen that. The Liberals, in my opinion, federally and provincially, cater to themselves. They're not necessarily upper class, lower class. They're just liberal, whatever that means. In theory, it means you're, in Canada, it means you're in the center. In the US, it means you're left-leaning. But as someone who has never been a member of the Liberal Party, I'm obviously considered persona non grata. There's a word we've been hearing as well. Trans or not, if you're not part of the Liberal Party, we don't care about you. We're not going to help you or fight for you. You might as well not exist. And Pierre Polievre, here's where we come to you guys, the Conservatives. Do you want to be center right? Or do you want to be far right? Hey, I grew up in the late 80s and early 90s. I saw what happened. The division of the Conservative movement. We then saw the Reform Party, the Canadian Alliance Party, and then the reunification as they created a united Conservative Party. And then we saw the branching off of the far, far right into the People's Party. Pierre Polievre, hi. I see you using this word woke. Are you trying to get me to vote for one of your opponents? I very much want to jump on board and support you and your party. The Liberals have got to go. They don't care about me or people like me. They only care about minority groups that are going to help them win elections, I guess. I don't know. It's obviously not me. A lot of money being thrown at different minority groups, but nothing for the trans community. Unless it's being thrown at somebody else who claims to represent or help the trans community. I've even seen Indigenous people say that they want to represent and speak for the trans community. No. Different situation, different group. NDP, we already know that they're all they care about is propping up the Liberals, so they're all one and the same. How do we beat the Liberals? Let's see now. Undecided voters, right? So what type of Conservative Party can win an election? Well, let's see. Remember? It's a ghost. It's a ghost. Remember a guy named Brian Mulroney? I think he won 2 elections with huge majorities. That's what you call a red Tory. You've got people who float around in the middle. Maybe they're center, maybe they're left of center, maybe they're right of center. They don't want to go either extreme. So they're not going to vote NDP, they're not going to vote People's Party. So we've got Liberal or Conservative. Let's see here. Polievre. If you want to win this election, you need votes in Quebec and Ontario, because we know how the election system works. It's based on where the people live. That's where the most votes are, and that's where the most seats are. And you win elections by winning seats. You get first past the post in ridings. Yeah, I get it. The West seems alienated. They don't feel a part of Canada. Believe me, being a mainlander, a trans mainlander living in Newfoundland, I don't feel I belong either. There's no way in hell I've never voted Liberal, and I have no plans on voting Liberal, because the Liberals' life for me under a Liberal government has been terrible. It's actually been better under Conservative, even far-right Conservatives like Stephen Harper. Life was easier for me when Harper was our Prime Minister than when Trudeau was Prime Minister. So you've got your core base of Conservatives, whether that's United Conservative or Red Tories who are still convinced that the Conservatives are Conservatives. Hi, Dad. It's not, by the way. Your Conservative Party doesn't exist anymore. Peter MacKay folded it. Brian Mulroney and all those people are gone. This Conservative Party we have now is more Reform Party-like. It's Stephen Harper, it's Stockwell Day, it's Preston Manning. And finally, it's funny, you had Andrew Scheer in there, and he was too far right to win an election. So you went and got Aaron O'Toole, who was leaning more towards the center. He did better, but the fighting within the party didn't look good. People didn't trust your party. Now we have the same thing. You've got a guy with the name Polievre. Sounds French, but he's actually, I believe, from Ontario, Ottawa. He's not what you'd consider your typical Albertan. He can't seem to make up his mind. Does he want to woo undecided votes from the center-right or the far-right? Well, I got news for you. There's not a lot of far-right votes out there. Because those who are on the far-right or have already gone to the far-right, they're Maxime Bernier, no matter what. Even though the guy has no chance of winning an election or a seat, they've decided that the Conservative Party isn't conservative enough for them. They're actually Republican Trumpists. So don't try to get them. You're not going to get them back, and there's not enough of them to win seats, especially in Ontario and Quebec. You want to win this election, you need to come a little bit more to the center. You need to target people like myself, fiscally conservative, who's part of a minority group who has faced oppression from this stereotypical group of upper-class, rich, white, heterosexual, cisgendered men. So I'm still undecided. Believe me, there's a lot of votes out there that are undecided. But if you lean too far to the right, you're not going to get them. Those votes will either go to the Liberals or they're just going to stay home on election day. You know what happens when people stay home on election day? The Liberals win because Liberals get out and vote. I don't want to see another 4 years of Liberal government here in Canada. In fact, if the Liberals win, I'm probably going to leave the country. The NDP, no hope. Polievre, this is your only hope. You're my only hope. You're my only chance. But if you keep using terms like woke to criticize people like me who is just trying to survive and achieve equality, well, you're not going to get that vote. That vote's going to either stay home or it's going to be wasted on an independent candidate. Choice is yours, pal. Conservative Party, you need to look at yourselves in the mirror right now and decide, are we going to be traditional red Tory conservatives that can win Canadian elections? Or are we going to be the Reform Party who can only win votes in the West? Choice is yours. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on this debate. And you probably won't watch my video because nobody watches my video anymore because I have been deemed irrelevant by people just like you, Pierre. So come on, man.